Look at this completely blunt admission that Google shared with ZDNet. They state right there in plain text that a technical issue literally wiped out timeline data for some users. And here's the kicker, without a backup, it's gone for good. I mean, this really outlines the incredibly high stakes we're dealing with. If your location history data vanished during Google's recent infrastructure transition, we absolutely have to look under the hood to see what's actually going on, and more importantly, figure out how we can salvage what is still sitting on your phone.
And this message brilliantly illustrates the exact wall people are hitting right now. You might be thinking, hey, I'll just go to Google Takeout and download my history like I always do, right? Well, you do that, you wait for the export, you unzip the file, and instead of getting gigabytes of your rich location history, you get a tiny single-line text file with this exact message. Boom, just a totally raw, dead-end error staring back at you from your text editor. Google Takeout is basically broken for this specific use case at the moment.
All right, first up, let's do a quick technical breakdown of what we're actually looking for, raw versus semantic data.
To figure this out, we are relying on some fantastic research from forensic engineer Mark McFarland. When we pull up the actual file structures side by side, we can see that Google generates two distinct types of location logs. Over on the left, you've got the records.json. These are raw, unedited sensor pings using E7 coordinate formats. It's basically a pure track log. Then, on the right, you have the semantic data. This is Google's cleaned-up interpretation, where they take those raw pings and break them down into nice little place visit and activity segment tags. To get our history back, we actually have to bypass that semantic data entirely and extract those raw JSON files ourselves.
So that brings us to the workaround, extracting the real files. Since Google Takeout is failing us on the cloud side, we are going to dig straight into our device settings and pull the raw JSON payloads manually. Now, if you're on Android, you actually aren't doing this inside the Maps app. You'll want to open your Android system settings, navigate to Location, then Location Services, tap on Timeline, and hit Export Timeline. Doing this forces your phone to dump the unedited JSON file directly into your local storage. Now, for the iOS users, your workflow looks a little bit different. You actually do stay inside the Google Maps app for this one. Tap your profile icon to open up your settings, dive into the Personal Content menu, scroll all the way to the bottom and tap Export Timeline Data. This is going to hand you the exact same raw data payload as the Android method.
I want to pause here for a second because you might be wondering why we're rushing to do this today. Why the urgency? Well, it comes down to this number right here. When Google made this transition to on-device storage, by default, they only migrated 90 days of history, unless you explicitly went into the settings and toggled on manual backups. Literally, years of data were wiped out for people who missed the memo. So extracting whatever is left on your local device right now is absolutely critical before anything else gets overwritten. Okay, so you've exported a massive file. Let's get into the solution, visualizing your history locally.
You have successfully exported your data, but now you're just staring at a totally unreadable JSON file. To fix this, we're turning to an incredible open-source web tool called Dwarich. I absolutely love this quote straight from the developer over on Reddit. The biggest hesitation anyone has with GPS coordinates is privacy, right? But this tool is built so that all the heavy lifting, the parsing, the JavaScript execution, happens 100% locally in your own browser. No remote servers. When you close the tab, the session is destroyed. It is just brilliant, raw, privacy-first software engineering. And if you pop open your browser's developer tools and take a peek at the console log, the performance here is just staggering. Just like the developer noted, you can drag in a 170 megabyte raw JSON file containing over 630,000 individual GPS pings, and the browser script chews through it and builds an interactive map in 7.4 seconds. It handles those massive E7 coordinate sets effortlessly.
But here's the best part. Dwarich isn't just a basic viewer. It is literally an escape hatch. It converts Google's locked-down JSON format into open standards, so you can output a GPX file to drop your old hiking routes right into Strava, you can export a KML file for dedicated mapping software, or you can just dump the whole thing into a CSV to run raw data analytics in Python. You are completely breaking out a vendor lock-in. The visualizer interface itself feels like a proper developer tool. It's super robust. You get year filtering so your browser doesn't completely choke trying to render a decade of data all at once. It has this clever little visits only panel that parses out all the noise of your daily commute and just shows the physical places you stopped. It draws the activity paths natively on the map. It auto-zooms perfectly when you switch data sets. And yes, because it is built by a developer, it comes with a built-in dark mode by default. And if you really want to geek out, let's look at some next-level integration, cross-referencing your data in Google Earth. If you want to take your newly liberated data and do something really cool with it, you can drop your exported KML file directly into Google Earth. The workflow is super simple. Import the file, click View, and then click Historical Imagery. This brings up a timeline slider at the top of the screen. You can literally drag that slider back in time to overlay your historical GPS pings onto satellite imagery from the exact year you were actually standing there. It's just a wildly powerful way to contextualize your data.
So it all comes down to taking action. Are you going to let your location data sit there locked in a broken JSON file, or are you going to take control of it today? The tools are right there, the open source code runs locally, and your data is sitting on your phone waiting to be either secured by you or overwritten by a bug. So get out there, run this raw export on your own device, drop it into the visualizer, and give it a go. But honestly, this whole situation leaves us with one really big question to think about. If a single software update can accidentally wipe out a decade of your memories, do you actually own your digital history? Or are you literally just renting it from Google? Take your data back. Thanks for joining me in this explainer, and I will catch you guys in the next one.